This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
Gusto tenerlo aquí con nosotros.
Gracias, gracias.
But give me just, I want to say welcome, and we're going to get started. I'm going to offer a prayer. To Father, we thank you for having us here together. Thank you for allowing Mr. Melendez to be with us and to share his story. It's an honor and a pleasure for us to work with you, all of us together. And we ask you now that may you bless us in this conversation, and may we be encouraged and even challenge to fight for justice. We pray in the sense of the Christ.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. I know the weather might have been a deterrent for some folks, but as you all know, my name is Kristen Houet. I'm the director of the Texas Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty. All of you here. Mr. Melendez and I have been crisscrossing the metro life since Sunday morning. When I picked him up, he's gotten a good education on all the little towns all over Dallas and Fort Worth, sharing his amazing and powerful story of how he spent 17 years, 8 months, and 1 day on death row in Florida for a crime that he didn't commit. We've been at Catholic churches, United Methodist Church. We've been at University of Texas, Arlington, Texas Wesleyan University, and then earlier today we were at University of Texas, Dallas, with some pre-law students. So we've had a really amazing response, particularly from the university. So I'm really glad. And Juan and I, this isn't our first rodeo, right? Juan lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he has done speaking events like this with TCADP in El Paso, in Odessa, San Antonio, and then 5 years ago we drove all over the Rio Grande Valley together to bring his message to folks. So, Juan, I guess if you want to just tell us a little bit about what you've been doing this week in Texas, and how things have changed.
All I've been doing is following her. That's what I do. I just like to tell you a little bit about my story. Like all you know, my name is Juan Roberto Melendez. I'm the number 99 person in the nation to be released, liberated, and exonerated from death row in the state of Florida. But my story is not that all unique. It's 146 of us. Has been 1,380 plus executions, many of them in this great state of Texas. They are real cowboys down here. And only God knows how many of them didn't have the luck that I had and the rest of the 145. When I went to death row, I did not know how to read. I did not know how to write. I did not know how to speak English. This is the type of English I know at that time. If I say 5 words in English, believe me, my friend, 3 of them would be cuss words. So the worst of the worst, the most indesirable people in the nation, the one that some prosecutor called monsters, taught me how to read, taught me how to write, and taught me how to speak English. And to such extent, they also taught me how to let hate and anger go. In the end, it was my decision to let the hate and anger go. But they planted the seed. They keep me in a 6 by 9 foot cell. Every time they move me out of that cell for whatever reasons, I got shackles in my legs. chains in my waist, and handcuffs in my wrists. The place was also infected with rats and roaches. I suffered terribly. However, the most hardest part for me was when they execute someone. You see, I'm in this cell. Next to me is another person condemned to death that I know for 10 or 15 years, maybe more. He cries in my shoulders. I cry in his. He shared with me his most intimate thoughts. I share mine with him. I learned to grow to love him. And one day they snatch him out of that cell. I know what's going to happen. They're going to kill him. And I cannot stop it. In my time was the electric chair. And they got to generate the chair with electricity because it's a 2010 volts. They got to go to his body in order to get him killed. And I can hear this bossy sound. That's still in my mind. And I know precisely the time when they burned the life out of him because, and this is no movie, this is reality. The lights do flip on and off, and I cannot stop it. But the saddest thing about all of it is that some of them are innocent, like Jesse Tefaro, Benny Dems, Leo Jones, Pedro Medina. And my homeboy from Puerto Rico that the state of Florida on a legal plea bargain offered him 5 years. He did not take it simply because he did not commit the crime. And it cost him his life. Angel Nieves Diaz. And all I can say is, I'll see you soon. I suffered terribly. It was a time when I almost committed suicide. And you can tell when they're going to commit suicide. And lots of my friends did it, committed suicide. They stopped eating. They start going to the yard, to the exercise. They start speaking. They start basing. So what they do, we get Tylenol in prison. All you got to do is complain about a headache, and they will supply you with some Tylenol. So what they do, they just accumulate the Tylenol. And they got what they call a Rona. A Rona is an inmate that's doing time in prison population. He's not sentenced to death. And they get him out of prison population so he can do the work in the death row place. The truth is that the guards, they don't do nothing. All they do is watch you. And some of them, not all of them, some of them give you a hard time when they can. This Rona, this inmate that's not sentenced to death, he is the one that supplies us with the food, the toothpaste, the toothbrush, the toilet paper, the mop, and the broom so you can clean yourself. He also can supply you with a tool that you can take your life with. And he knows it. All you got to do is give him 4 post stamps and a packet of cigarette roll and paper tobacco, the cheap kind. He will give you this tool. Perhaps he do it because these items that I just mentioned are more important to him than your life. Or perhaps he do it because he called you himself assisting you, helping you. He knows you want out of there. He works there. He knows that death row is hell. The tool is real simple. It's a garbage plastic bag, the strong kind, the one you see in the garbage cans. You give him 4 stamps to the Rona, and when the guard look at, he will swing the bag inside your cell. You take that bag, twist it up, and you make a rope. Then you put a noose in it. You put the noose in your neck, and you tie the other ends in the cell door bars. You throw yourself down, you're dead, but you're free. That's what the demons used to tell me. Why? Why you got to go through all of this? You're supposed to be a Puerto Rican man, a real macho man. Don't satisfy them. Satisfy yourself. You say you didn't do it. You think they're going to believe you? They're going to kill you anyway. And that thoughts stay in my mind. I never saw my friends kill themselves simply because I cannot see through the walls. But I always see when they wheel the body out. Something in the back of my head tells me, you're not going to look at your friend for the last time. So I have a mirror in my cell, and I grab it, stretch my arms to the bars with it, and I look. And this is what I see. I see a purple blue face that do not look like my friend. I get to see something else too. I get to see the noose in his neck because they never take it out, and that stay in my mind. So now I want to take this trip. You see, I'm tired of it. I want out of there. I'm depressed. So I tell Leonora, give me that garbage bag. So I gave him 4 stamps, and when the guy wasn't looking, he swing the bag inside my cell. I took the bag and I made a rope. Then I put a noose in it. Then I look at my bunk, and I look at the rope, and I say to myself, I better lay down and think about this a little bit more. So I took that rope that is made to take my life with, and I throw it under the bunk. So when the guys walk by, they don't see it. And I lay down. When I lay down, I fell in a deep, deep, deep sleep. And I started dreaming that I'm a little kid again. Doing the things I used to do when I was a little kid. The things that make me happy. The things that make me smile. You see, I'm born in Brooklyn, New York. But I was raised in the island of Puerto Rico. It took me back when I was just a little kid. And when I look at the east side, it's a wonderful mountain. And if I walk 6 minutes toward the south, I find myself the most beautiful beach in the world. It is to me. So here I am, dreaming that I'm swimming in the beautiful Caribbean Sea. The true fact is, it's tropical. The water is warm. The sun is real bright. The sky is real blue. The palm trees look so good. It's a beautiful day. Then I get to see something that I never saw before. 4 dolphins coming my way. And they pass me. Then they turn around. And one pair got on one side, one pair got on another side. And they start flipping and jumping like dolphins do. I'm having a ball in there. I'm so happy. Then I look to the shore, and it's a beautiful woman smiling at me, waving at me. And she seems so happy. And I know why she is happy. She's happy because I'm happy. That's my dear mother. And then I wake up. When I wake up, the bones smell like a beach. So I grab that rope that is made to take my life with. And I walk straight to the toilet with it. I look at the toilet, and I look at the rope. And I say real loud, I don't want to die. And I flush it. But the true fact is, it was lots of beautiful dreams. Every time I got depressed, every time I went out of there, every time suicide thoughts came to my mind, our Creator God sent me a beautiful dream. And I was wise enough to grab all them dreams as a sign of hope that one day I would be out of there. I would be free. Like God was telling me, hey, I know you didn't do it, but I control the time. You get out. When I say you get out, you just got to trust me. And when I analyze everything, I come to one conclusion. It took 17 years, 8 months, and 1 day to also change the man. I suffered terribly, but I believe that my family suffered probably more than I did. In what family is concerned, this is all I had. Mama and 5 aunts. Oh, I got brothers. I got sisters. I got uncles. I got lots of cousins. But they never wrote me a letter. There's mama and 5 aunts. I do not know how the aunts are in this generation. But in my generation, when I was growing up, if my aunt caught me doing something wrong, believe me, my friends, it's going to be a good ass whipping. And then I got to get on my knees and pray to God that she don't tell mama. Because when she tell mama, it's going to be another good ass whipping. But when I was hungry, my aunts always feed me. When I needed clothes, my aunts always bought it for me. And in death row, They never forgot me. They wrote me lots of letters. They sent me lots of photos, pictures of the one that born and I never seen. And I saw all of them grow up to pictures. They love to keep the family together. And Mama, I had to tell you, I believe she suffered more than anybody. She also wrote me lots of letters that give me so much strength and help me keep the will to live. But it's one letter that I keep with me all the time. And when I'm down and out, sad and weak, I read it, and it always boosts me up. And it goes like this. She wrote and say, son, I just built an altar. In that altar, I put the statue of the Virgin of the Guadalupe in it. And I called roses, and I put it in it. And I prayed 3 rosaries a day, thinking, searching, looking for a miracle. And that miracle will come, son, because I know you're innocent. And God knows that you're innocent. But you have to put all your trust in God, and one day He will send you free. 17 years, 8 months, and 1 day, that miracle came true. Thank you, God, but it took too long, God. And this I find out after I've been out. I did not realize how much my mama suffered and how much pain she went through after a week or so after being out. I went to her room and I noticed that tear was running down her cheeks. And I said, Mama, what's wrong? And she said, son, in spite that all that faith that I had in God and the Virgin of the Guadalupe, for all them years, for all them long years, I was saving money to bring your dead body back to the island of Puerto Rico in the state of Florida will have execution. And no mother in this world should go through that pain. The conditions in the row are very bad, especially the medical conditions and some of the type of people that work in these places. But in order for all you to understand this or comprehend it, unfortunately, I have to share with all of you another sad story. We go to the yard 4 hours a week. 2 hours on a Monday, 2 hours on a Wednesday. If it's not raining, all they got to see is a dark cloud in the sky. Inclement weather today. No yard, no recreation, no exercise. And it's not one drop of rain falling. But this Monday we all went. All the one that taught me how to read, how to write, how to speak English. Very particularly, this African American person. This black man. I call him brothers. They all taught me how to read, how to write, and how to speak English. But this one here, he was pushy. You need to learn this. You need to learn that. And I love him dear for that, because I learned a lot from him. The brothers, they like to play basketball. Some others play volleyball. I lift weights because I like to burn steam and go back to the cells and try to rest a little bit better. So my brother's playing basketball, and all of a sudden he falls to the ground. And we all stopped what we was doing and ran closer to him. And when I got closer to him, I noticed that white foam was coming out of his mouth and nose. So I assumed, there's got to be a stroke, a heart attack. So we tell the guards in the gate, you have a man down that need medical assistance. And they take the time with a walkie-talkie and they call the nurse. And here comes the so-called nurse. It's a tall white man with a big great belly. They let him inside the gate. And they told us in the yard to put our back to the fence. And from the gun towers, they put machine guns at us. And you better not move. They will shoot you. So now they're letting this so-called nurse inside the yard. And I noticed he had no medical bag. But he had something. He had about a half a pound of chewing tobacco in his mouth. And you can see the black stuff running to the side. And every once in a while he spits. He is in the yard now. And he's a brother in the ground. So we tell him, He's not breathing. He need air. And the nurse will say, I got to go to the clinic and get an oxygen tank. And he spits. So he walks real slow with his proud and arrogant self to the clinic. Come back walking real slow with his arrogant and proud self back to the yard. He bends down and put the oxygen tank in my friend's mouth. Then the nurse get up. And we tell him he's still not breathing. He need air. And the nurse replied, I got to go back again to the yard. I mean to the clinic and get another oxygen tank. This one in here is not working. And he spits. So I tell him, you don't have to. You can give him CPR, mouth to mouth. But tell him one of them to do mouth to mouth to a brother in the ground. You're wasting your time. So the nurse looks up. Then the nurse looks down. He made a statement using these two racist words, the M and the N, and I'm not going to put my mouth in there. And he spits. And I tell him, you don't have to. I do it. You just do the counting. And he agreed. And I'm so glad he agreed. I'm trying to save my friend's life. So I rushed down there, took my t-shirt off, and I wiped the white foam my friend had in his mouth and nose. And the so-called nurse, he started counting. 1, 2, 3, and I blow air. 1, 2, 3, and I blow air again. 1, 2, 3, and I blow air, and my friend opened his eyes. I'm so glad he opened his eyes. I see a sign of hope. He's going to live. But all of a sudden, his eyes rolled back. He made a front with his face and mouth. That I can see it right now because he never left me. Then he breathed real hard and air came out. I believe that was his soul that left him because he died right in my arm. So now I'm angry. And when I do something to that so-called nurse that let my friend die in the yard like a dog. And when I was finished swinging at the guard, here come the rest of the condemned men. They snatch me out of there, throw me in the corner. And they say, Puerto Rican Johnny, don't get in no more trouble that you already are in. We got other ways to handle this. I still go to the hole, to confinement for 90 days for instigating a riot and the respecting a member of the staff, whatever that means. But I learned a lesson. I learned that I had to think, look, and trust something more powerful than the system. And the only thing I can see that's more powerful than the system is our Creator, God. The truth is that the condemned man or woman that's condemned to death, that do not grab something spiritual, either go crazy or commit suicide. Some of them become Muslims and they praise Allah and they teach others how to read, how to write, how to speak English, how to respect. Some of them become Buddhists. I do not know what they worship, but they teach others how to love, how to have compassion, how to forgive. Some of them become Christians. That's what I did. I had to go back to my roots and remember everything my mama told me about Virgin Mary, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost. The truth is, she's Catholic to the bones. This friend of mine, that the state of Florida let him die in the yard like a dog, 1 month after his death, he wins a new trial. By the state of Florida letting my friend die in the yard like a dog, the state of Florida denied my friend his right to prove his innocence. But enough is sad stories. Let me tell you how I got out of there. And I will tell you right from the jump, I was not saved by the system. I was saved in spite of the system. I was saved by the grace of God, miracles. Some people call it luck. I call it a miracle. Here comes my attorney in. She had tears running down her cheeks. And she tells me, Juan, I cannot handle your case no more. And I say, why, Miss Gail? I don't need no new lawyers now. You know my case better than anybody. And she said, you know why? I lost 5 clients. They are your friends. And no mistake when she say she lost 5 clients. It's 5 human beings. They got executed, murder by the governor of Florida. But then she say, don't you worry about it. I'm going to get the agency to assign for you the 3 best lawyers they had and the best investigator. I finally got the dream team. So here comes my new lawyer, and he tells me, Melendez, you have lost too many appeals. I tell him, tell me something new. Then he say, but we're going to try one more time. But if you lose this one, you'll be lucky if you live 3 years. I say, if I lose this one, I'll be lucky if I live 1.5 years. You know who the governor of Florida is. He won't have no problem in signing my death warrant. So his strategy was to get the investigator to see my trial defense lawyer, the one who used to pat me in the back. And the first miracle occurred. My trial defense lawyer, he just became a judge. By him becoming a judge, he creates what they call in the legal world a conflict of interest. And that conflict of interest gave me the opportunity to move my case out of the racist county, out of the county where they fabricated the case against me, out of the county where the Good Old Boy Network operates. And it moves from Bar to Polk County, Florida. By the way, don't go over there. It moves to Hillsborough County, Tampa, Florida. And it falls in the hands of a courageous, brave woman that wants to do the right thing. A judge that goes by the name Honorable Barbara Fletcher. I can sincerely say, without hesitating, that I owe that beautiful woman my life. So going back to the story when my investigator going to see my child defense lawyer, who just became a judge, he tells her, I'm a judge now. I have a new office. But in the old office where I used to do my defense work, I believe it's a box in there with the name Melendez on it. You can go in there and have it. So my investigator, she just rushed over there, went to that old office and found that box, took it to her office, went inside it, and dug out a tape cassette, and she played it. Guess what? The confession of the real killer was in that tape cassette. And my trial defense lawyer had it 1 month before trial. So this opened a can of wounds now. The case is in the hand of a brave woman that wants to do the right thing. So when Honorable Judge Barbara Fletcher listened to the tape confession of the real killer, she immediately demanded a court order to the prosecution office, the one that prosecute me. And she demanded that he send any documents, any papers, any files, any notes of the case, if he had any, to do so. And he did. Guess what? He had a transcript, a copy of the tape confession of the real killer. He also had it 1 month before trial. But he had something else too. He had 16 documents that corroborated the tape confession of the real killer. 16 documents that he never turned in to trial defense lawyer at the time of the trial. What creates in the legal world a Brady rule violation will hold an exculpatory evidence that indicate that you did not commit the crime. By that time, I already had 3 eventuality hearings. And I was able to establish more than 20 witnesses that also corroborated the tape confession of the real killer, including the wife and sister of the real killer, including law enforcement officers, former prosecuting investigator, former FBI agent, criminal lawyers, friends of the real killer. In the end, they even found physical evidence against the real killer. The real killer was also a police informant. So now Honorable Barbara Fletcher got all this ammunition. And she decided to write a 72-page opinion on it. In that 72-page opinion, she chastised the prosecutor for the way he handled the case. She chastised law enforcement investigators for the way they investigated the case. And she chastised the man that pat me in the back, my child defense lawyer, for the way he called himself, defended me. And she grabbed me, ordered me a new trial. And she let him know that the case was terrible damage, implying you have an innocent man in death row. The prosecutor decided not to process the case, dismiss the case, drop the case. And that's why I'm here, thank God, talking to you now. I never know the time and date they was going to release me. It caught me totally by surprise. They put shackles in my legs, chains in my waist, and handcuffs in my wrists. And they took me to a place they called the information room. It's not that far where the death penalty place is. They just don't want to parade you. They put you in a van and they take you to this information room. So they set me down in a chair. Behind the chair is a desk, and it's a lady working. In front of me is a desk, and it's a lady working on computers. And she started making some silly, stupid questions to me. She asked me for my social security number. I give it to her. I know about her. I wonder why. Then she came out with some more silly, stupid question. Where you working at? What type of job you have? Who you working for? And I must give her a weird look, because she got up the chair she was sitting on and put both hands in the desk that was in front of me. And she looked straight in my eyes and she asked me, you do not understand what's going on in here, do you, Mr. Melendez? I say, no, I don't. I live across the streets. I've been in there for almost 18 years. I'm in death row. They don't have no jobs in death row. Then she came real close to me and almost whispering in my ears. And she said, we are fixing your paperwork. They're going to release you today. And I do not know if you watch cartoons. And you see this cartoon character. He takes a slop hammer. Hits the other one inside the head with it. Boom! And you can see that knot that's come straight up. And he had a ring star that's going around his head. He's in a state of shock, but he's smiling. That's how I was. In a state of shock, but smiling. And I'm still smiling today. Then the correction officers, they start acting different. They offer me sandwiches and soda pops. I don't want no sandwich. I don't want no soda pop. I just want to go back to my cell, pick up everything, and get out of here. Then I had to take physicals. And I was the first. I never seen these people work so fast. They're moving people out of the way to attend me. I was first for everything. Then they start calling me something they never called me before. They start calling me Mr. Melendez, and I liked that. So now I'm in the cell. That's about everybody. Everybody in death row know that I was going to be released. And when I say goodbye to my friend in the last cell, I got tears running down my cheeks. I got a smile in my face. And when I got in front of him, I could not say nothing, because it hit me all of a sudden. I was happy, but all of a sudden part of me got sad, because I leave them behind. The ones that taught me how to read, how to write, how to speak English, and such extent, how to let hate go. Anger and hate go. And if we do not abolish the death penalty, I know the destiny. They can kill them all. He had tears running down his cheeks. He had a smile in his face, but he was able to talk. And the first word that came out of his mouth was this, like this: don't get in no trouble there. Then he said, take care of yourself. Then he said, don't forget about us. And the last word was, take care of your mama. They all know my mama. This friend of mine that shared these kind words with me before I left, his name is Clarence Hills. He changed it to Rashad because he became a Muslim. This is an African-American person, a black man, a brother out of Alabama. unfortunately, I have to tell you that on a Wednesday, September the 20th, 2007, he was executed. May God rest his soul. So that's about every one of them was telling me the same thing. And before they opened that door that would lead me out of that wind, out of that floor, I heard a clap. Then I heard a second clap. And a third clap. They was making so much noise, clapping their hands, hollering, and banging the bars, that the correction officer got angry with them and told her to shut up, to be quiet. They didn't stop making noise till I left that place. They was real happy to see me go. So now I'm in the door that will lead me to freedom. And when they opened that door, this is what I saw. I saw a whole bunch of reporters. CNN, ABC, NBC, BBC. The whole letters of the alphabet wasn't there. And no offense, no disrespect. But reporters sometimes make some silly, stupid questions. The first one was, how do you feel? I feel good, I'm going home. Then come this female reporter with some more crazy questions. Where are you going? What you gonna do? What you wanna see? I did not tell her that I want to go to Disney World. I told her, and it came naturally. And she wrote it down just like I told her. I told her I want to see the moon. I want to see the stars. I want to walk on grass, on dirt. I want to hold a little baby in my arm and play with him. Of course, I told her, I want to talk to some beautiful women. The reporter I had in front of me, she was ugly. Well, this is a joke in my luck. I miss the things that we take for granted, the simple things in life. I cannot understand the people in the free world when they tell me they're bored. There's so many things God created for us that we can enjoy, take care, love, and share. So many good deeds. So many good choices we can make in life. We ain't got no business being bored. And speaking about good deeds and good choices, I have a confession to make. I'm still a dreamer. I dream and pray to God every day that in my time, I can see the death penalty abolished. But this dream cannot come true if all of you don't get involved in it. You are part of my dream now. The problem with the death penalty is all about details. It's all about education. People need to know that is racist. People need to know it do not deter crime. People need to know that it costs too much. People need to know that it's cruel and unnecessary. We have alternatives. But the most important thing that people need to know is this. Alone is this great state of Texas habit. Any state, any country, any nation. It always will be a risk to execute an innocent one. And we can always release an innocent man from prison. We don't have no problems with that. But we can never, and I repeat, we can never release an innocent man from the grave. And just like we got rid of segregation, and just like we got rid of slavery, white, black, brown, together in harmony, we can get rid of the death penalty. So please, join me in my dream and help this beautiful woman get rid of the death penalty in this great state of Texas and all over the world. God bless you. I love you all. Mm-hmm.
Questions for Mom?
You're going to say that there were stupid questions?
No. No, that's the reporters. Don't worry about it.
How old were you when you missed that care? How
How-
old were you
When I went in, I never say it. You didn't miss nothing. I was 33 years old and I got out when I was 50, going to 51.
traveling around the country and the world talking about the death penalty for the last 11 years. What changes have you seen?
I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of changes over here in the state of Texas. I remember when I first started, one of the first states I came to speak was Texas, and they used to be very hostile at us when we was talking about abolishing the death penalty. Now, I come to Texas in the last 5 or 6 years. I can dialogue with people about it. People are listening. Still, some of them, I have talked to some of them that believe in the death penalty, but they still listen. And I got the impression that they know deep inside in their heart that it's a problem.
And these students that you talked to in the last couple of days, what was their response?
They always, I love to talk to students. They always react in a positive way. I love to talk to them. The truth is they love stories. And this hope, I always like to motivate them and hope that we can get them together. And without them, it cannot be done. We need them. They are the ones that are going to get it done.
So what would you say are some important things that families can do to support a loved one that is on death row?
A lot of write them, make them feel that they're not alone in the problem. When I used to get letters from pen pals, that's what I was feeling, that I'm not alone in this. It's people that really care. It's people that write them and they don't care if I'm guilty or innocent. They know something is wrong in here. And that give me a lot of strength to keep on going. And the family should write the loved one that he got in their role. My family helped me a lot. I don't think I would have survived without the letters of my aunts and my mama.
And what do you think are some important things that we can do as citizens and people in the community to help this cause?
I will let my friend Christine to answer that question. This is her state. This is her state she's working in, and I believe she's the one that knows what can be done here. I got ideas, though. I need to go to the restroom. I'll be right back.
Thank you. Okay. So the question is, what can you do to get involved in changing the death penalty in Texas? As citizens, as constituents, communicating with our legislators is very important. We're also putting a lot of focus on specific counties in Texas and the officials that we elect at the county level, because they have actually a lot more direct influence on death penalty practices in our state. We elect district attorneys, and they have the absolute and sole discretion on whether they're going to pursue the death penalty in a capital murder case. We elect our state district judges who hear these cases, who set the execution dates. We elect our county commissioners who approve the budgets for these very expensive trials. So we're really focusing a lot on what's going on at the county level, because that's also where we see the change occurring. So, Texas is actually in line with the rest of the country in the fact that the numbers of people being sentenced to death is dropping quite dramatically. It's dropped about 75% in the last decade. And it continues to be concentrated in just a few counties statewide. So we have 254 counties in Texas. Half of them have never sent anyone to death row. The practice has been largely limited to just a few counties statewide, and that's even more true today. We have just 6 counties account for 60% of the individuals sentenced to death since 2008. And the reason why we're in the Metroplex this week is because Dallas and Tarrant counties are 2 of the top 3 sentencing counties in Texas. Dallas, in fact, has sent more people to death row in Texas than any other county, including Harris County, Houston, which is notorious for its use of the death penalty. So, I think it's voting is extremely important. I mean, and voting and being an educated voter and looking down the ballot. So not just looking at who's running for governor or lieutenant governor, but really looking at, these elected officials at the county level that are going to have much more influence on what goes on here and with the death penalty practice. So we had with one this week a couple of events with a man who was the just elected district attorney in Montague County up near the Oklahoma border, and he talked about his evolution on the death penalty issue and how even when he was a district attorney, he had serious qualms about it. They had 18 capital murder cases when he was the district attorney, and he only made a decision to seek the death penalty in 3 of those cases, and then actually settled them with plea bargains, so he didn't sentence anyone to death, and he is 100% against the death penalty now. And he talks about like how it's just too much power in the hands of one person, one decision maker, who's this elected district attorney. So we're going around talking about these kinds of issues is really at the heart of what we do as the coalition, but we work to engage folks all over the state in legislative actions and clemency campaigns and other actions we're taking on specific cases. But a lot of it is just one-on-one conversations that we all have with the people we come into contact with and interact with, and then paying attention to what the people we elect into political office are doing, and letting them know that we're paying attention to what they're doing. Yes, sister.
I'm always thinking now that like we have elections coming up,
Mm-hmm.
that it's more effective to wait until they're elected, because they're not going to go public. Nobody in this county,
Mm-hmm.
probably not in the state, is going to say publicly, I'm going to be against the death penalty. But it seems like once they're elected, that's when we need to start talking with them and meeting with them and pushing them. Because, otherwise, do you think that?
Yeah, I don't think we need them. I don't even think we need them to say that. I think we need them. We need to be electing people who recognize the flaws in the process, who recognize that Texas has had wrongful convictions, that we have sent innocent people to prison and to death row, and that there's something really wrong about a process that's so arbitrary, that's so, racially biased. So I feel like a candidate for elected office, doesn't really, they don't have to stake a claim on the death penalty issue itself, but they can say, like, look, as long as Texas has the death penalty, it has to be carried out in the fairest and most accurate way, and that's not the system we have. And like, if I even just heard a candidate say that, I'd be really quite pleased. We do have some very courageous legislators in the Capitol who have supported publicly abolition of the death penalty, and I think it's grown. I think we're seeing an increased number of folks who just believe in principle that the death penalty is wrong, and it hasn't come up in their elections. And I don't think it's sort of that. It's not the third rail of politics the way it used to be. Politicians don't really run on the death penalty. Voters do not care about the death penalty at all. That's not what's driving behavior. So, I think you're right. I think both things are important. Once they're elected, definitely need to be paying attention. But I think even as candidates, the more that we're kind of out there questioning them about, what is it that you like? How do you feel about the fact that 10 out of the 11 individuals sentenced to death in Dallas County in the last 6 years are African American or Latino? Like, what does that mean about your practices? How do you make the decision whether to seek the death penalty? I think all those things could be really important, because in my mind, they just don't think anyone's paying attention. Do you guys have any more questions for me or for Juan? Or we can...
I think that the point you made about the person dead, you can't exonerate them except in some legal way.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about the death penalty of the whole world, you ought to think of the United States as being one of the backward countries sometimes. all the civilized world.
Yeah, absolutely. We're one of the only kind of Western industrialized countries that maintains the death penalty.
People into thinking, hey, we are not a very civilized country. We're really barbaric.
Absolutely. Yep. Very good point. And I guess the only other thing I would say is just the role of faith community is just so important. You know, we receive so much support, particularly from the Catholic and United Methodist churches, both of which obviously have very strong positions against the death penalty. So we've been working with faith leaders all over the state for the last few years on a collective statement against the death penalty. So we're planning to release that at the Capitol next spring. We have over 500 faith leaders who've signed on to that initiative. It's really just so important to have faith leaders also walk in the halls of the Capitol. Legislators want to be hearing from clergy, from faith leaders on this issue, on other issues as well. But we really have been very grateful for the support we receive from faith leaders and lay leaders within congregations on this issue, and you know we need even more of it. So.
On the states that have established moratoriums against the death penalty,
Mm-hmm.
what was some of the efforts that got it to that point? Was it, coalitions like this?
Mm-hmm.
Was it faith-based or no?
Yeah, I mean the first state to have a moratorium, Illinois, it was declared by the governor, and in Illinois they'd had 12 executions and 13 exonerations, and this man, the governor, George Ryan, was just appalled by that number, and he did the right thing. He wanted to do the right thing, so he declared a moratorium. We've had a couple other states, Washington and Oregon, also where the governor has declared a moratorium, mostly out of concerns of about innocence, about the flaws in the system. In Texas, Texas Constitution prohibits the governor from imposing a moratorium. And so that's limited. To change that, it would require a constitutional amendment passed by the voters of Texas. So that's a pretty risky strategy. I don't think that's not gonna be a strategy it's not a strategy that we take here in Texas, just because there's so many hurdles to it logistically. We think we're gonna abolish the death penalty before that happens, and then we'd have to elect a governor who would declare a moratorium. So, we've had 6 states about just completely do away with the death penalty in the last 6 years. So that gives us a lot of hope. We have had a lot of other states come very close legislatively. So our role in the kind of national movement is really to continue to reduce the number of people being sentenced to death, to reduce executions here. That's a really big, huge signs of change, even here in Texas, and it bolsters efforts all over the country when our colleagues can say, look, even in Texas, new death sentences are dropping. Even in Texas, they're going to have the fewest executions in 2 decades. So we work really closely with litigators on those efforts, and we have a really, really important role to play in our state because it is Texas, because we've executed far and away, more people than any other state. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for coming tonight, and thank you to Reverend Bazan for hosting us at his church in Oak Cliff. We're really glad to be here.
I just want to say a real quick thing.
Yeah.
Besides all of those areas that are working at this issue, Juan, you put a face to all that. I mean, your willingness to tell your story just as it is really just pushes all those other areas that we have. But you really help us put the real face of what we're talking about. And it's a very powerful impetus to all these other things we're doing, writing letters and meeting with our officials and having protests and everything. But you really help us to put a whole other depth to it. And I just thank you for being willing to do that. And thank you for setting up for Mr. Melendez his ability to be here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a good week. I think we've reached a lot of people. So thank you guys so much for being here. Yeah. And thanks to Juan. Yeah.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.